Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today it was a little bit of a struggle for a video. I couldn't really think of anything. There was not really any news coming out. We're still a number of days away from that big semi-final match at Hampden, so I thought, let's try and have some fun. Let's do something a little bit different, and let's take a little trip into the past to see what I thought could have been of this season. And thank God, I was so wrong. Now, before we go any further, if you do enjoy this sort of video, let me know down below and we can do more things like this. I've been planning on looking back at everything I said about Ange Postecoglou and everything else come the end of the season, so there will be more content like this, but let me know and hit the subscribe button while you're down there. We're trying to get to 34,000 subscribers. The support has been fantastic recently, so make sure to keep that up. And let me describe what we're going to do in this video. So as I said, this morning I was struggling, and into the afternoon I was still struggling. It's 2:20 as I record this, and I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do for a video? I'd have no idea. There's literally nothing to speak about, and I've been uploading daily for the last kind of week, so I thought, I want to keep that going. I want to keep the momentum up on the channel, and you know, I just couldn't find anything. But then I went onto YouTube, I logged in just to get some inspiration, and I clicked the notification button up here at the top of the screen, and I seen you should revisit this from Daniel Scuteri. Shout out to Daniel. I was like, what should I revisit? And I remembered, I made a video back in May last year, right here on screen, as you can see it. What is Celtic's ideal starting 11 next season? Now, this was way before Ange Postecoglou was announced. This was before even Eddie Howe's deal had collapsed, that he was meant to come to Celtic. So right now, at this point, when I made this video, I was under the illusion, as of many others were, that Eddie Howe was going to be Celtic manager. And we were all in the same kind of situation, like, okay, there's a rebuild coming. We understand that it's going to be very, very different at Celtic next season. There's going to be players coming in and out. And it was really just a kind of stab in the dark as to who would be playing for the club in the 21-22 campaign. Now, this is hilarious to look back on now. I had a watch over the video just before I decided to make this to see if it was worthy of it, and I decided I may as well just share my humiliation with you all. Now, this is the sort of video that makes me look at myself and go, should I really be making football videos on YouTube? Am I qualified to talk about football? But it's funny to look at how things have changed, what's happened in the space of not only the last 12 months, but beyond that, you know, the last sort of 2 years since the demise of Celtic in that 10-in-a-row season. It's so funny to look at how narratives have changed and players have become better and worse. So I thought, why not? Let's have a laugh. Let's look back on this. And you know what? We might even have a scroll at this comment section as well when we're done, because there are some belters in here. So I'm looking forward to seeing what is said. But let's have a look at what I thought would have been an ideal 11 for Celtic this season. Also, may I just say that this rebuild that we have had, I think, is just beyond anybody's comprehension. If you told me I made this video May 25th last year, the anniversary of Lisbon. I made this video May 25th with no idea what was going to come with Ange Postecoglou. Nobody knew who Ange Postecoglou really was. If you did know, then fair play, but I didn't, and I think the majority of Celtic fans didn't. We also didn't know who Kyogo Furuhashi was, or Rio Hatate, or Dyson Maeda. We didn't really know any of these guys, and I think that if anybody tried to predict that we would have had a team anywhere near as this team we've got just now, anything close to it, they would have been looking at life through a crystal ball, to say the least. I don't think anybody could have predicted where this year has went in terms of signings and results. So yeah, I think we all would have been far off anyway. So let's just do this for a laugh. Let's have a look and see where we ended up. It's going to be the Celtic 11 next season. I'm not saying realistically it's going to be the Celtic 11 next season. Some of the players who I have included in this team are players that Celtic are probably not even looking at, or probably would never look at, for various reasons. I was probably right when I said that. We weren't looking at any of these guys. Market range in terms of money. You know, there's a lot. One thing that I've gathered from the intro of this video, however, look at that beautiful face that I've paused on there. My hair wasn't as thin back in May. It's been a stressful 12 months. It really has. But one thing that I just kept saying throughout the video was, when Eddie Howe gets here, when Eddie Howe's manager, we were really so certain that Eddie Howe was going to be the guy, and I'm so glad he wasn't the guy. I don't want to keep banging the drum of, oh, Eddie Howe this, Eddie Howe that, because I'm over it. I really am. Like, go and do what you're doing at Newcastle. He's actually doing a good job there. I actually find it quite weirdly obsessive when folk keep tweeting about, thank God we never got Eddie Howe, as if he wouldn't have done a good job here. Just my opinion. But in all honesty, I'm so glad we've got Postecoglou, and things, you know, sometimes God just leads you on the right path, doesn't he? And in this situation, it feels like he certainly has. So this was the template I started off, and I made the basis for the video. What players are we going to keep in our starting 11 next season? What players are going to remain Celtic players and likely going to play for us? And this is the guys that I came to the conclusion that I would have ideally liked to stay. Now, we both knew, me as the maker, you as the viewer, we both knew that realistically Edouard and Ajer weren't going to be at Celtic, but there was always an outside chance, so I did keep them involved in the team. As you can see, Ajer still at the centre half position, Edouard still up front as well. So, you know, I had faith that they would maybe stay at the club, but, you know, I think that it would have been nice to keep them, but it's good that we did move on. And we had to cash in. There was only a year left on their contracts. It was realistic that they were going to leave the club. But Edouard and I did keep in this squad, naively hoping that they would maybe stay. It's the rest of the players now that we've got to look at. Now, two that we've got nailed on to remaining in this Celtic team was Kalmack and Turnbull. They were going to be a massive part of this season. Now, Turnbull's been really unlucky with injuries. I think it'd be hard to be critical of him. But even at that, when he's not been injured, he's been really useful. He's contributed this season. I don't think he started in the same way that we would have liked him to. It took him a little bit to get going into this Postecoglou system. But he got there, and he's scored, and he's made goals. And he's obviously just back from injury, which is fantastic too. And what we have a really talented midfield. And Cal McGregor was a nail on. We all knew he was going to be captain. We knew he was going to take over from Scott Brown, and his season has just been unbelievable, and I think it might be his best season as a Celtic player yet. He's been unbelievable, and he was nailed on to be in this team. So those two were kind of easy, and Turnbull especially last season, he was player of the year. You know, he was the guy that we kind of had a shining light in what was a very poor season. So it was clear and evident that those two were going to be involved. It's the other two, isn't it? Let's be quite honest. It's the other two. Barkas and Sorrell. Oh my God. Sorrell. We all wanted it to work, didn't we? But I think we can all be honest and say now that I think we all got over our heads a little bit just because of how bad we were last season. I think we all seen something in Sorrell which in reality wasn't that good. But we all wanted it to be good. And there was glimpses, there was definitely signs of potential of Sorrell being a good player for Celtic and being someone that would be reliable over the next few years. But as time has gone on, that has kind of faded, hasn't it? You know, I don't suspect him being a Celtic player much longer. He's not even been used as a substitute for months now. I can't remember the last time we actually seen Ismaila Sorrell play football. I imagine his time at Celtic will come to an end very quickly. He's not good enough, quite frankly. He's a guaranteed yellow card. I've said it many times. Stick your mortgage on it and you're probably going to get it up. Probably going to get it up. Whoa, calm down, Ryan. And Barkas. Listen, my love for Barkas will always be pure. And I thought, do you know what? It's the revival this season. I thought that maybe there was a chance with Lenny gone, with a confident Celtic side, that Barkas could maybe reignite the fire. I don't know what fire that is, but I thought he would maybe find some form, and boy, was I wrong. And I'm glad we've got Joe Hart now. Joe Hart, as you know, my favourite player at the club. But, you know, Barkas, yeah, I think I was just a little bit delusional with the whole Barkas thing. And, you know, I still love him, and I really want him to do well in his career, but I think that, once again, just like Sorrell, his ship as a Celtic player has probably sailed. Scott Bain looks preferred to him as the backup option. We're seeing Toby Oluyemi coming through as well in the B team. I don't imagine Barkas will be with us much longer, but it's hilarious knowing that I wanted Sorrell and Barkas to be in our ideal starting 11s. So let's look at what completed the back line for me, and already you're looking at it on screen and going, wow, Ryan, what a dick. Steve Cook, first of all, oh my God, Christ almighty. Thank God that never happened. That just seemed like, if you remember at the time when Eddie Howe was linked with the job, there was all these rumours floating around that he was going to try and bring Stevie Cook with him. And there was going to be a couple of other ex-Bournemouth players who would come up to Celtic with him. And we were kind of excited about that. Some more than others. I wasn't particularly excited about Cook, but I was like, okay, solid centre-half to bring in. Someone that has got experience, he's captain the Premier League side, he knows Eddie Howe, he would be a decent enough signing on a free transfer. I'm very glad we never got him. He's a bit of a donkey. Once again, I think that things were that bad that we were willing to take anything at some point. And Steve Cook was someone that, you've seen the comments, a lot of people were quite happy with the idea of. I'm just very glad that it's Carter Vickers and Starfelt now. Yeah, Steve Cook, I think that would have been a disaster. You know, Shane Duffy was bad enough. I don't think Steve Cook would have offered anything more. And one thing that I've got to point out here on screen that you might not have noticed, it's the back five. I've done the Lenny 5-3-2. remember that last season, and we started playing the season before, we started playing the three at the back, the five at the back, and we were all like, oh, this is the way forward, this is Celtic now, this is revolutionary. I'm so glad we're not. And it was really exciting that last few months before the pandemic hit and we secured 9 in a row and it looked really, really good. But in all honesty, would we have sacrificed the football we've got now to play a 5 at the back formation? Nah, absolutely not. And Steve Cook would have been murder to watch, I think. I don't want to just completely write him off now. He's obviously a talented guy. He's played in the Premier League, but I'm just happy it's went the way it has. Now, the guy beside him, however, Mario Vescovic, he's someone who I would have liked Celtic to sign, and he was someone who I basically was confident we would have signed, and then it kind of collapsed last minute. If you remember, he ended up heading over to Hamburg in the Zweite Bundesliga. And they're having a decent enough season. They started slow. I think Mariusz Vuskovic has played in the majority of games this season. I think he's played 20 times for Hamburg this season. Someone who had a high price tag on him, he'll be completing a permanent move there now. They're looking to try and get back in the Bundesliga. So, his career could go in any way. He could flop, he could succeed. We'll have to just wait. He's still a young guy, Croatian international at some point as well. I think that he was someone that I would have liked to have seen at Celtic, in all honesty, but it's over. And once again, I'm happy with Karl Starfelt, but he wasn't the worst of suggestions. The two fullbacks, Josh Doig, it's not worked out for him this season, has it? It's not been the greatest of season for Hibs, and for him, I don't think his stock is as high as it was at the beginning of last season. Greg Taylor's done a phenomenal job, and the left back's still an area where I think Celtic fans are crying out for maybe another option. Maybe Doig is one we look at in the future, still very young with a lot of potential. I just don't think he's kicked on this season maybe as well as what people would have thought, and maybe that's more down to how Hibs have been this season and the mess that they've been in. But if we couldn't get him for a decent price back then, I don't know if we're exactly going to do that now. I think that ship might have sailed as well for Josh Doig. I'm not sure. He's got a lot of making up to do, I think. And I'm not saying he's not a good player. He obviously is. He's still very young and he could do a lot. I think he's only 20. I'm 22, fuck's sake. I'm older than him. So he's got he can definitely kind of bring that conversation back up one day. But could he have been in this team this year? I don't know. Maybe he could have. He's one that I'm really unsure about. The guy on the other side, Danny Da Costa, he was just a kind of left field option from me. He was someone I just threw out there knowing the situation he was in. He was on loan at Mainz at the time last season. He's now back at his parent club, Frankfurt, where he's played, I think, 10 or 11 times this season. His contract's expiring at the end of this season as well, so I don't know what's going to happen with his career. But he was someone who, when I watched him at Mainz, I thought he could be a good option for Celtic. He's a right wing back, he can play right wing, he can play right back. He's basically well executed on all positions on that side. He can offer something for Celtic, but it was just kind of like a thrown out there, sort of, get him. He's a free agent. Who knows? I've not managed to see much of him this season for Frankfurt. Frankfurt have, of course, had a very decent season in Europe, and domestically they've been okay. But Danny Da Costa, he's someone who we could look at, but listen, Juranovic and Ralston on that right-hand side has been sort of revolutionary in a way itself, so not much of a need for someone at this moment in time. And then up front, joining Edouard, I had Mohamed Bayo. I think he plays for Clermont Foot, if I believe rightly, in Ligue 2 in France. He's actually having a decent season, by the looks of things. I think he scored 10 goals in the Ligue 2 this season for them. Once again, though, the situation we've found ourselves in with forwards, Kyogo Furuhashi, Georgios Giacomakis, Dyson Maeda, Jota, all these guys. Listen, if we played a 3-5-2, we wouldn't have the wingers that we do, and I just can't imagine Celtic without wingers. And this is one thing that I kept drilling in last season. If you watched me throughout last season, Celtic traditionally have had the best wingers in Scotland. We've always been a team that have had magnificent wingers. From way back to Jimmy Johnston's day, right up until recent times, we've always had Scott Sinclair. We've always had good wingers. And it's always been a sort of instrumental part of Celtic's style. And I was willing to sacrifice it all for a 3-5-2. And now look at this. We've got Jota, we've got Maeda, we've got Abada. It's just, honestly, we're brilliant. We're really well equipped. And Bayo, I still think is a guy who'd be a brilliant signing. I think he's still very young as well, and he'll be looking to go far in his career. But, it was one of those ones as well that, the stats might have pointed towards a decent signing. But would it have worked out? I don't know. But it's worked out the way we've went. So that right there on the screen is what I thought would have been Celtic's ideal starting 11 for this season. Wow. All I can say is, thank God it's not me that's in charge of recruitment. Listen, I'm not saying that some of these guys wouldn't have done well. I think at the likes of Doig, Vuskovic, Bio, these are guys that, you know, are a kind of 50-50. They can come in and they can do well or they can flop, just like anybody else that signs for this club that we don't really know about. But, you know, you look at that 11 there on screen, and take into consideration Edward and Aya were probably not going to be here, and they're not here. Well, wow. That could have been a nightmarish season. A really nightmarish season. So as I said, shout out to Daniel who suggested this for my video today. I do appreciate the idea. And it's saved me a lot of worrying and stressing about what to do. Oh, wait, actually, I forgot. I put depth into this. I put depth in. Let's see, who was I saying? That team, man. Wow. So I was saying that our centre-half backups would have been good enough with Welsh, O'Connor and Julian. Oh, my God. Oh, that alone. Julian, who hasn't even kicked a ball. Bain, Marciano, I thought we should have signed from Hibs. Smith, what's his first name? Bournemouth right back. He was up there. He was getting touted with a move too. So I had Forrest and, of course, Taylor as the backup to Doig. Lewis Ferguson in there with Roget, Sean and Christie, who I still had involved. And then up behind Bio and Edouard, I had Josh King and Nisbet. Nisbet's had a nightmare of a season, really. He's not lived up to the hype of what he had last season. I was so adamant we should try and sign him. And then King as well, who's now at Watford in the Premier League, a decent enough player. But wow. Just look at that. Imagine that was it. Look at the back line. Imagine that. Imagine you had Ayer, Vuskovic and Cook and suddenly two of them drop out injured. You're bringing in Welsh and O'Connor. Oh my God. As I said, let's have a look through the comments. The dreams starting 11. Christ, someone had Sean Rooney in here. Kieran, what a nightmare you had, son. Fucking Sean Rooney. Yeah, I wasn't that bad at least. Let's see, what else is there in here? Hopefully we get Howe. Yeah, of course. Rooney, everybody, why was everybody so hooked on Rooney? I was never on that train. I know he's a Celtic fan, but look, there's so many comments about Sean Rooney. I agree with you, Ryan. Barkas had a bad start. That's understandable. With a new era, new team. The past year he's went, I think he'll become a class keeper. Yeah. It's not really worked out for us, Stuart, has it? Me and you both thought the same thing. The disrespect to Montgomery is unreal, said Ross. Was I wrong? Was I wrong? No, I was not. Tim Krul. Somebody had Tim Krul in with a Cedric Keeprey. My God, Andy. You were Ryan Gold, Alan Campbell, Nick Powell, Ryan Fraser, Sadiq Dembele. We would have been relegated with that team. we would have went down, Andy, if that was our team. I fucking believe that, right? I'm looking to see if there's any like Rangers fans, like to see if they've been piping up in here. Sorry, Ryan, that team's all over the shop. Players out their natural position, a fair few spots. We all know how that ends. Graham, you were not wrong. Look at Connell and Montgomery. Jesus. Benteke on a free. Christ almighty. Jim, you should try and get more shifts at Tesco instead of posting so much drivel. Thanks, Jim. I'm getting made redundant now, so you're going to have to put up with a lot of drivel, but a lot of Barkas hate, quite rightly. I'll back him till I die. 56 incoming. A good way to end it from Matty there. 56 incoming. We'll see. That'll do it. What a laugh. Like and subscribe. See you next time.